So this also monitors the temperature of the stored hot water via one of these sensor cables. Now that just needs to go into there like that, but then we'll have obviously a wire hanging down. So what I'm going to do, you get these channels to run cables in, and then it will come out a gap at the bottom, which is much neater. And then all I need to do, because obviously it's going to come over the edge and then into that, on this cover, which is just a piece of foam, if we just cut with a standing knife just a little channel, then rather than it be hanging down, it can just pop out of there and then into that. What's up guys, happy Sunday, hope you're enjoying the weather. Hopefully you can hear me. I've got the aircon going because I could not sit in this van, how hot it is outside, without baking alive. You can probably tell by looking at me, I'm a bit sunburnt. Well, I'm not sunburnt, but I've been, I did a half marathon this morning, which was hot. So yeah, I think the sun's got me today. But this week's video, second part of the job with Stu. I forgot to mention last time, follow Stu on Instagram. He's a great engineer. He's really really cares about the job, very knowledgeable guy. So check him out on Instagram. It's at AccuWarm. I'll write it in on the video there. So it's the second part of this job, and then I've got a little pipe bending tutorial video for any apprentices watching, or if you just want to practice at getting better at bending copper pipe. And then last week or the week before, I went down to Bristol to PHC Parts. They opened a renewables branch, and I went down there, did the pipe bending challenge, spoke to some of the lads, plumbers and that. And there was a guy there who's got a company called Nippy Checks, and he's basically bought a cargo bike, and he loads it up with just enough stuff that needs to do gas certificates or some boiler breakdowns. And he cycles around on that all day. So and he was such a great guy. He was so happy. So there's that video. And then speaking of people on Instagram, there's a guy, a good mate of mine, B Plumber. He makes these really cool copper numbers when he hits a certain milestone on Instagram. So I've asked him to make a video to show you how he does it, because I just think it's really interesting, and it might give you some little tips if you want to make anything out of copper pipe, because I know some people do, like they run a side business where they make things out of copper. So there's that as well. Anyway, I'll stop waffling on. Hope you enjoy this week's video, sponsored by Power Tool Mate and Velocity Pro Gear tool bags. I'll drop their links in the description of the video. And as always, if you enjoy the video, please consider giving it a like. If you don't subscribe, please hit the subscribe button, it really helps me out. Thanks for watching. For some reason, I come to work today and there's just wasps crawling around everywhere. There's one on my steel wall, one on the lagging. There's loads in the window, all flying about. And I've been here, what, 20 minutes, and one's already stung me on the arse cheek. So, just a couple of things. I've just put the condense in temporarily, just down into that where it went before, basically, but it's all going to be sorted out. We're just getting it working today. I've done the PRV, quickly swapped that round because I had the pressure gauge that side of the isolation valve, which meant once it was isolated that would be reading this side and not the system side. So I've switched that over, so now when that's off, that pressure will read the system side. It's all been pressed now, get rid of that. So what am I doing now? Just tightening up nuts and things, checking it, and then I'm just going to swap these pump valves out. So the old ones that I reused, I'm just replacing them with these, much better, butterfly type. So get them on, and then ready to put some water in it. Okay, so pump valve's done. I'm just about to fill up, but I've put lucky hose on a drain off. There's two drain offs there on the heating system. They're original, but now I'm gonna put the water on. If anything goes wrong, Stu's gonna ring me from upstairs. I can crack that open. Hopefully there won't be any need to though. Here we go. Good start. decided to leak from the seam there. I'm hoping that's just turned in on the thread. I've never seen one leak before, but obviously we've got to drain it down because I'm not too sure yet. But we weren't sure if it turns out, but it definitely does, because obviously they've got to get the gubbins inside it. I just spoke to the Spiotech rep and he didn't think it came out, but obviously we're going to get some water coming out. Oh shit, I lost the bucket. So that's just got an O-ring on it, so hopefully that should just tighten up. Let's just see. Yeah, this is how they get this in. How does it come out though? I better not try and take it out. Let's see if you want to have a look. What's the inside of it?
So that's the cylinder just slid into place for now. I just need to make sure I'm getting my hot connection in the right position. I've still got to get my cylinder feed to come down, which is coming off the combi valve there. It's going to come down real tight past all of this, down and through, and then secondary return actually tees into the cylinder feed with a non-return valve down the bottom. I might try and do it up higher if I can, because I've got secondary coming from both sides. I'll just see how it all fits once I've got the pump positioned. I've left this space here for the Valent wiring centre. I might have mentioned that before. It's quite a big piece here. And then what else we got? So discharge off the cylinder. Now we need to leave 300 mil of pipe before the first bend after the tundish. And as you can see, this is the old discharge pipe here. There's not a lot to play with. So I'm not sure if I'm going to go round or if I go around the back yet. But either way, we're pretty much there. We are okay. But then I do have to get the pressure relief valve off of here going out there as well. And I'll probably put a secondary tundish in for that one so it can link up and tee in. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that all fits up. It's all in there nice and snug. One of the disadvantages to press is the amount of space you need, because there's quite a lot going on in a small area. And these tees here are, well, you could get them a bit closer. I reckon you've got about 10 mil probably extra you could do on that. These are spaced at 90 centres. You might be able to squeeze it down to 80. But when you put your gun on, like that, you could quite easily foul a fitting with these M profile if you had them butted right up to each other. But the size of them generally does space things out more. But yeah, so I'm going to get this dry fitted now. Make sure I've got everything in the right place. Probably pull the cylinder back out if I need to get the connection around the back. And then hopefully, it won't be too much longer, we'll get the water back on. So I've taken the cylinder back out. I've then completed my discharge there. I've got the PRV discharge coming down. I've done the secondary return. Linked up with all the hots and colds. I've just got one more fitting to get. I've run out of street elbows, so I've just got one more to do there. They're all linked in this side. This is my discharge. So once I get the cylinder in, I can connect into that. I can do my hot up here, because now I can put the pipe in, lift it up, slot it into the fitting. Same down the bottom here. These are the flow return and inlet and secondary that comes in. I can just slot those straight in, tighten them up to the cylinder, press them, and we're good to go. So it's just wiring now. Sorting all this mess out. Wiring centre is going to go there. I've had to kind of bring this across where I didn't want anything in this whole square area here, but actually what I'm going to do is cut a little piece of ply the same size as the wiring centre and stud it out off of this wall, and then bring cables in from the back of it the best I can. I'm pretty happy with how it looks so far. I'm trying to make it as neat as I can. It's difficult picking up this old pipe work, but it's yeah, kind of the best of a bad situation, I think. Oh, another thing as well, these are secondary return legs, so it's always worth putting an air bottle on top of them if they're coming up to drop down, which 9 times out of 10 they will, because it allows the return leg to vent before it gets to the pump. Obviously we don't like air in pumps. Cylinder back in, piped up, apart from straight elbow there, one fitting down the bottom there, but very pleased with how it's gone.
So, wiring stage, fitting the VR71. Going to put it on the deck. We're going to put it on the wall, but it's going to be a lot neater and easier to do it down here. We've kind of kept it in the middle, so there's no pipes above it, so that nothing can sort of drip on it. Drilled a hole there, so we need to take 3 cores in that corner, and then there was a fuse found there. I've took that off and put another Wago wiring centre, so the cables that come up from the boiler room are now in there. I just need to extend them through to this. Each zone valve just plugs into the corresponding plug. You just need an earth, neutral and live. This needs permanent live, neutral and earth, and then we need the bus cable, so 2 cores all the way down to the boiler, and that's pretty much it. Then this does everything, opens the zone valves. Got the secondary return pump, that'll go in on its own connector. I don't know which one, it's one of these, it'll probably be like R5 or something, but I'll have a look in the book. The stat for the hot water into there will be a thermistor in one of those bags there. So yeah, now is the fun bit. Right, so far my secondary returns on plug R4. My central heating zone valve, which goes down to the boiler downstairs, is R1, and then obviously got live, neutral, earth in the green block. And then I've just took them down and up. We're going to put them in some trunking, and then they connect into that Wago box, and then there's the bus cable. So now we just got to do the hot water, the 2 heating zones for the upstairs, down and into there, the plugs they go into, and then the hot water stat. So this also monitors the temperature of the stored hot water via one of these sensor cables. Now that just needs to go into there like that, but then we'll have obviously a wire hanging down. So what I'm going to do, you get these channels to run cables in, and then it will come out a gap at the bottom, which is much neater. And then all I need to do, because obviously it's going to come over the edge and then into that, on this cover, which is just a piece of foam, if we just cut with a standing knife just a little channel, then rather than it be hanging down, it can just pop out of there and then into that. So that's my sensor in there, cable goes down there, and then it comes out the bottom. Pull that through. And all I'll have is something like that. Well, I'll make it a little bit tidier, but basically that, rather than it hanging out loose. So as well as the hot water sensor, you got ones for the underfloor heating circuit, tower rads, the main heating circuit, the low loss header. These are pipe stats. So basically we're just cable tying them, you can see that one down there, onto the pipe straight after the zone valve, so that this can monitor the temperature demands and stuff. And they just go into the corresponding plugs on here. So what was S3 was the tower radiators, S4 is the underfloor, S9 is the hot water. So that's what I'm doing now, connecting these. The wiring, you can see up there, is all done there. Obviously these have got to put the trunk in, but we're getting there slowly. Right, so R6 is my plug for my hot water zone valve. You'll notice I've got the brown, the blue and the earth in there, and I'm not using the grey and the orange. So when this board sends power to the zone valve, it opens, and that's it. Normally you'd have a live on the grey, and then when the valve gets to switch live, it puts the live onto the orange, which then goes back down to the boiler to fire the boiler up, but we're not using those, so they're left. It just uses those 3.
I think we just need to tick on that.
I think Stu isn't enjoying this process.
I'm really not. It's a lot of think. I think that's
What we need is a kid, like about a 6-year-old kid who will just go, yeah, you just got to press all these.
Press all them buttons.
Yeah. What a fucking headache. You've got manuals coming out of our ears.
Right, should we do a sensor and actuator test? Let's go for it.
So just basically gone through R6.
We are in.
That's opened the zone valve, put power onto it. We did R4, same, 3, 2, 1. So that's basically checking that they're all getting power and opening like they should. It's a good start.
So there we are. All done, apart from lagging. But we're wired, fired, all tested. Neatened up all the pipework best I can with it, kept some of the old, renewed the valves. We've got all the zones are now independently temperature controlled with a Valent sensor comfort. Going for a VR71, and huge thanks to James Cox at Valent for helping out with some of the settings and configuration on that. Yeah, very pleased. So just when we thought we were there with this, it turns out we were short a cable on the underfloor heating system. There is a 3-core earth coming up, which was the old power to the system and switch live, but we need to get a bus cable down there as well. Bus is basically like a communication, low voltage communication. You can't run it with any mains cables because it can create like stray voltage and what have you to affect the signals. So they've got to be a separate cable with a certain distance between. Now, luckily, where we are, there's a stack going down here. You might just be able to see a bit of light. Well, either way, just down there, it kind of drops down, goes down to there, and that is near where the underfloor heat manifold is. So I've managed to snake down a cable with the rods, and I've had to cut a hole here because it pops out down the bottom there. But what I'm going to do is just put a blanking faceplate on there for now. I'll keep the offcut and I'll speak to the customer. It's either going to be made good or leave that plate. So I managed to pull the rods down, cable out here, and then through. All of this is boxed out to allow for the media wall. So I have just about enough room to pull cables through. I mean, it's double battened off, so it was quite tight in there. And then up and into this here. So I am now through to where I need to be, just at 1mm flat twin and earth, and I will wire that into this lot here, and that should be everything sound. There we go, all lagged now. Looking smart. Let's get these nice neat joints there and get yourself a set of laggets. All you need is a knife, set of laggets. They'll do 45 and 90 degrees, and you can cut your T's out as well. They do 13mm lagging in 28, 22 and 15. Brilliant bits of kit.
Right guys, I've got a little pipe bending tutorial video for you with a difference. Now, if you want to get better at bending copper pipe, and this for example is probably one of the most difficult bends that we have to do regularly, is a pass over or step over, whatever you want to call it. It's a half decent one that I've just whipped up now. Yeah, it's the one we have to do most often, and a lot of guys struggle with it, and I know this because when I do the pipe bending challenge, see a lot of people struggle to get this uniform. Now, the trouble with practicing or anything in life, you've got to practice to get better, and practicing with copper pipe means once you've done that, if you get it wrong, it's got to go in the scrap bin. So it's quite wasteful unless you do something crazy like this and try and get as many as you can on one piece of pipe. I mean, I just did that messing about, but yeah, I've got a little tip for you. So I got this off a college lecturer. His name is Mandeep, and I was working with him recently on a charity job I did down in Oxford. And he told me he does this with his students. So you get an offcut of MLCP, which is multi-layer composite pipe, and it's got a metal layer in there. So when you bend this, it holds its shape. It doesn't spring back like a normal plastic pipe would. And you can use it to bend things like that. And the beauty of it is, once you've done it, you can straighten it out again. Now, this is 60mm MLCP. After I put this video on Instagram, someone did tell me that, I think it was Pegler, make a 50mm MLCP. But even though it is 16mm, and I've put my bender in the vise here just to make it easier, it will just go in. Okay, so I'm going to try and do this with one hand. Put that in there like that. And then guide won't go all the way in. This is so difficult with one hand, but it will go in just enough, and you'll see when I do bend it, you'll probably be able to get in slightly better than that. It's just because I'm doing it with one hand. So you can bend this MLCP exactly the same you would as a piece of copper pipe, and you'll notice when I remove it, it keeps its shape. Okay, so I'm just going to bend, I'm just going to imitate that basically. So pop this back in. If I can do this with one hand, there's no reason why you can't do it with two hands. All right, just hold that there. All right, come on Pete, you can do this. Just using my belly. Okay. So, as always, once you bend the pipe more than once, you've got to square it up. But you're not going to get pissed off with me for this, aren't you? Right, we'll just pretend that that's right. So then we'll bend that piece. We'll stop it about there. Flip it round. This will go down as my most annoying video I've ever done. And then that one in there needs to come this way a bit. As we look at it, this way a bit. What I do here, if you've not watched one of my pipe bending tutorials before, is I'm looking straight down this, because I know that when I pull this round, the pipe's going to sit in here. So I'm trying to just line that up with that. Can you see that now? And that should be about perfect. No measurements, just using my eyes and just understanding that this pipe can only follow this path. So you just got to look at it. And then again with my belly, hopefully that will grab it. And then as I bring that back, for fuck's sake, one more try. As I bring it round, should, there we go, line up like that. And we should have perfect step over to match the one we pulled previously. Oh, it just needs a little bit of a tweak. Hang on. Needs a little bit of. But you get the idea. With one hand, I'm trying to show you that you can practice on it, and then once you've done it, it's not wasted if you got it wrong like I just did. Well, I say got it wrong, it's not a bad effort. With one hand you can just bend it back, so straighten it. I should have just cut this. I'm just going to do it, and then I'm just going to cut the camera. There we go. So just straighten it back up and you can use it again. So you can have as many goes as you want rather than wasting copper. You can obviously write on it and wipe it off if you've got a decent cloth. And then the other thing is, get this one out. It does also work because I have checked it on the monument bender, which I'll be honest with you, at the minute, guys, I'm not absolutely loving this, but I've not used it enough to give you an honest opinion yet. A lot of people, when I've done the bending challenge at the trade shows, they do like it, especially the 50mm one on its own. But I've just not had that much usage of it yet before I can tell you whether to buy one or not. Well, I'm gonna have to touch up the camera. There we go. So this one, you just got to go in like that, hold it there. There. And then this piece just pushes on. And you can bend it in that. That'll be a 90-degree bend. And that'll hold its shape. So again, you can do whatever you want with that bender. So yeah, get yourself a piece of MLCP, practice to your heart's content, get better at pipe bending. Bit of info for you. So since I retired my granddad's bender, I've been using this Nerad bender, Nerad tools, and I love it. I can't fault it, to be fair. So that, if you are in the market for a new bender, that is the one I would recommend. And Tool Monster have just started to sell Nerad tools, so you can get yourself this bender off Tool Monster. If you use the Monster PB discount code, you'll get 10% off. The other Nerad tool that I really like is the Tapex kit for swapping bath taps, kitchen taps, any kind of tap work. Nerad tools Tapex kit, and that should be on Tool Monster as well. I'll pop the link to their website in the description. But yeah, it's Monster PB. That's 10% off any hand tools that they do on that site.
Hello guys, yeah, I'm Bry, and yeah, I've been making copper numbers on Instagram. I started making them when I reached the first milestone of 1,000 followers, and since then I've continued to do it. It's always gone down really well with the Instagram community. So Pete's asked me to do a video on how I make them, which I'm going to show you in a sec. But just so you know what I'm talking about, here's a couple of pictures of a few of the numbers that I've already made. So that was a couple of the copper numbers I was talking about, and today I'm going to make a number 9, so stick around and I'll show you how it's done. So here's my original letter K, which I've just marked around. So when I make the 9, it's proportional with the K. So the first part of the 9 I'm going to do is the inside D bit of that 9. So to do that, it's the same method as what PB does when he makes his love arts, and to be quite honest, it's where I got the idea from in the first place. But anyway, so bending machine, pipe in and pull a 90. There we go. So the next part, from the beginning of your bend where it's dimpled slightly, you measure back 95 millimeter. So that goes back in the machine, and your mark goes on the edge of your former there. So I'm just going to square it up. Pull that back round, and that'll give us a nice 180. You can go all the way around and the form will drop out. So the next part of the 9 is the outside D part, which I'm going to have to bend that with a spring. But to keep it uniform around the inner part, what I'm going to do is scribe around that, cut it out of the ply so I've got a template, and then I'll anneal the pipe, which softens it, which will allow me to bend it around the plywood. I scribe around that now, and I've just pinned that in position to keep it still. If you haven't seen this, this is a proper scribing tool from Tracer, and it opens and closes. So I would draw around it like that, or the cheap way is just to get yourself some packers that are the same distance as those. So that's the standard elbow and a street elbow, and draw around. So now I'll cut out that line with a jigsaw. So that's my template done. So I'm just going to screw that down to the board there. So as I said, annealing the pipe, it softens it. If you try to spring bend around that without annealing it, you don't stand a chance. You won't be able to get the radius tight enough. Right, so my pipe is ready now. It's cooled down a bit and it's ready to have the spring fed into it to form the bend. You need to make sure you've either got a manufactured end on the end of your pipe that's intact, or do a hacksaw cut. Feed the spring in. Start the bend off about there. I'm gonna pin it into position with a couple of nail-on clips just to right, and here we go. That's looking pretty good. You might just have to open it out a bit and then push it back again just to get that spring out. That's looking pretty good. There's the first part of my 9. So a couple of offcuts of pipe again, just for that leg there, and I'm just going to put a little offset on them. I'll put it about there so they're both same. It's starting to look something like now, so I'll dismantle all this, clean it all up, and flux it up, and then I'll solder it all together. Time to solder this up now. I'm going to solder it and dab it from underneath so I've got a nice clean joint when I take the photo. So there we go, that's the 9 almost done. Obviously I just need to give it a really good clean up. This is a fine grade wire wool. So there we have it guys, 9k made. What I'll do, I'll put that on a nice backdrop. So I've got some offcuts of multi-panel from a bathroom in my workshop. I'll stick it on there, probably put the pipe bending machine to one side, some molten tubes flux, a few bits and bats just to fill the photo out, and I'll take the photo in portrait mode, and hopefully, yeah, that'll make a nice Instagram post. So thank you for watching.
Right, go on, tell us who you are.
Sam from Nippy Checks.
Right, so you're in this,
Yep.
but started 4 years ago on an electric bike,
Yeah.
and the idea is you can go and do a gas certificate with a rucksack full of tools on your back,
Yeah.
and it's better for the environment, but also saves you a bit of money.
Yeah. So it started off into mountain biking, bought an electric mountain bike, and suddenly realised I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go out and I'll start doing some quotes and stuff on the electric mountain bike. And then very quickly thought there's more you can do on this with sort of like saddlebags and stuff. And so yeah, about 4 years ago, thought that and was messing around with my electric mountain bike, and then the only stopping point really was sort of wet weather.
Yeah.
So when I actually came across these, that sort of ticked the box. Hey up, it's going to be wrong back. So yeah, and as soon as I came across these, it was just a no-brainer, and it sort of gave me the confidence to go for it really. So Eve, who are based up in Oxfordshire, they make these basically for last mile delivery. So I think they're chuffed that it's being used for a different application.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. Like in the summer at the moment, I'm bombing around, you get a slight bit of drizzle, it's absolutely fine. Don't get me wrong, if you get horizontal rain, you're going to get a little bit wet, but you'd be surprised how much coverage you've actually got, and you just dress accordingly really. So yeah, and I'm doing boiler servicing, landlord safety certificates, and if anything, the size of the back of it you know, there's too much room for the sort of amount of kit that I need for that. So.
Right, give us the tour then. So tell us how it works.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's got battery.
Yeah.
So you can take that out, charge it in your house overnight.
Exactly, yeah. So this
And that gives you 45 miles, did you say?
Yeah, so each battery gives you about 45 miles. So yeah, to get out, you just lift that up, unplug it, and off you go. And it just plugs into a normal plug socket in your house, the charger does. So each bike I've got 2 batteries for, so you've potentially got 90 miles worth of range. So yeah, battery goes in.
You can pedal it.
Yeah, so it's pedal assist, so it won't just, you can't just throttle it and off you go.
Yeah.
It'll give you an assistance off the mark, so you've got a throttle which gives you the assistance off the mark.
Yeah.
And then, you know, as you pedal, the motor kicks in. So yeah, top speed of about 15 mile an hour.
Yeah.
There's sort of multiple settings you can use depending on how much of a workout you want.
Yeah.
I tend to keep it in turbo mode and cruise around all day.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Does it charge that battery while you're pedaling?
No, so it doesn't charge as you're
So
pedaling.
you've got 45 mile range,
Yeah.
but you keep a couple of batteries in. So.
Exactly. Yeah, so you got.
But you're only going to go local on it, aren't you anyway?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, even around Bristol, sort of this, I'm doing sort of 6 extremities of Bristol in it, and you know, I've yet to really deplete my second battery. I've used a whole battery and a little bit of the second one, but that's about, and you know, that's doing some serious miles on that. But yeah, it's good as gold. Dead simple.
What do customers think when you turn up on this?
Love it. Absolutely love
Something
it.
to talk about. I suppose it breaks the ice.
You've got to allow a bit of time, because you know every customer you go to, they're like, so where's the bike? Where'd you park? Why didn't you park the bike right outside? And you're like, oh, it's just down the road. And they're like, oh, can I have a go on it afterwards? And, which is fine. Love that. Absolutely love that. And yeah, Bristol's all about sort of, you know, they've got a massive eco community, so they're going mad for it. And it's great advertisement, you know. Everywhere I'm out and about in it, kids are waving and sort of everyone's sort of spotting it. And Nippy as well. We made Nippy, the girl who does my branding very cleverly made Nippy into an emoji. So we've got emojis for all the sort of Nippy faces. So I got a load of stickers made up, because you know, a lot of houses you go into kids and you're like, do you like stickers? They're like, yeah, I love stickers. So they can take their pick of like the Nippy emoji stickers. So yeah, it's just all round good vibes really.
And then you can load out the back however you want, but basically I don't want to show you inside because I don't want anyone to ever want to break into it, but depending on what boy you're doing, I mean, he's doing gas safeties, boiler services, breakdowns probably, so there's enough kit in there to do that. But you've got sort of 3-tiered shelf system. So whatever work you're doing, if you're a reactive plumber, you could have some plumbing gear in there, whatever you want.
Definitely, and I'm starting to do more and more, as long as you're organised. It's all about being organised. So like, you know, landlords and letting agents, you know, can you go and do the landlord safety certificates? Yes, but they've also got a thermostatic shower that's gone down. You know, as long as I can find out before I go there what that shower is, I can come pre-armed with a shower cartridge, and you can do those sort of jobs as well. You know, I've got hose for draining down in there. I got wetbacks in there. You know, multiple sorts. You could put drills and all sorts in there if you really wanted to.
And what's the score with like needing a license for it and stuff like that?
So at the moment, same rules as a bicycle.
Yep.
So in terms of, you know, you sort of your normal liabilities, and the bikes themselves are insured, but that's about it really. So you know, as long as you've got, you know, I think the minimum requirement is a cycle proficiency test, which most people did at school, I think. So yeah, whether that will all change, I know they're really looking at all the sort of classifications of electric, sort of like you see all the e-scooters going around Bristol. So those, because their primary propulsion is just the throttle, they have to have license plates and stuff. So it's a little bit different, whereas these are still in that very sort of grey area. Whether in the next 2 or 3 years that will changes, and you'll have to start paying tax, insurance, God knows what. But for the moment, enjoy it.
And then if someone's watching this and they're thinking, yeah, I want one, how much to sort of get set up?
So for one of these basic unsigned written, you're looking at sort of 12 grand with a spare battery from Eve. But yeah, I mean, like I was saying, a decent downhill electric mountain bike, you're looking at sort of anywhere between sort of 5-7 grand anyway. So it's all kind of quite relative. But yeah, I think sign writing is about sort of 600 quid, and you're on the road, off you go.
Awesome.
And today, like I say, today my only fuel cost was a £13 full English breakfast that I nailed, so probably a £2 charge, so I'm looking at 15 quid
to get power in them legs.
Down right.
Right, go on then. Let's see it go. Let's see it move. Here he goes.
You've got a pretty good turn and circle. I'm running with GPS. GPS you use these now, do you? Hey. You can do some for us if you want.
He's off. That's awesome.